Ladies and gentlemen, please notice that exits are conveniently located at the front and rear of this auditorium. When leaving the theater, we suggest that the exit at the front of the auditorium will allow you easier access to the parking areas. Thank you.
We've just lost 90% of our young audience out there. Who's Susan Lucci? I don't know why they're an old lady voice, but anyways.
And he'd be like, yeah, exactly.
You can all you want. You agree to disagree.
Disney fight.
See, two dudes talking about Disney.
So many viewers. We just lost so many. Hello, I'm Mike Butler.
And I'm Mike Field.
And you're listening to the Forgotten Cinema Podcast. Each episode, we highlight a film that, for a variety of reasons, was forgotten by audiences, whether it be because a more popular movie was released at the same time, or the film simply didn't catch on with an audience in its initial run. We'll discuss what we love about the movie, or perhaps don't love about it, but we'll always recommend you revisit. If you enjoy our podcast, please feel free to rate, review, and subscribe on Apple Podcasts or wherever you're listening to this podcast.
And season 4 begins. That's the wrong. That's like a Halloween forgotten horror. Yeah, no, I'm sorry. Come on.
I'll add some Barry Manilow to.
We are now in the month of February, I believe. Right? Yes. February. Okay. So we are starting off our season 4 with a movie that I like quite a bit. I don't remember if you had seen it or not.
I've watched the trailer before.
Right. Okay. So I'm talking about Ghost Town. Movie that was released in 2008, September 19th, 2008, starring Ricky Gervais, Leoni, Greg Kinnear, Kristen Wiig, it was a small role, Alan Ruck, Billy Campbell. Before I get into the facts, I guess let me get into what actually is Ghost Town about. So, real quickly, after a near-death experience doing a routine colonoscopy, people-hating dentist Bertram Pincus, played by Ricky Gervais, is shocked to discover that he is suddenly able to talk to the dead. Constantly cornered by unhappy spirits who want him to help resolve their earthly problems, the misanthropic Pincus is driven to distraction. Eventually talked into helping the dearly departed Frank Hurley, who is played by Greg Kinnear. Pincus attempts to talk to Frank's widow, Gwen. Basically, Greg Kinnear starts off the movie where Greg Kinnear dies. And you find out that he's cheating on his wife, who's played by Leoni, whose name is Gwen. That he is cheating on his wife. He doesn't know she knows, but eventually all these dead people are stuck because they have unfinished business. And when they discover that Pincus, again, played by Gervais, can communicate with them, they are trying to get him to help them. Of course, Pincus being a misanthrope who hates people, which I think me and you can relate to a little bit.
Yeah.
He has nothing to do with it. But so eventually there's a character shift, there's a character change in terms of Pincus, and he in any kind of movie, he obviously has an arc, and it comes to a resolution towards the end where he ends up falling in love with Gwen. And we'll get all to all that. But it's pretty simple. As before we started this podcast, I had mentioned to Mike, I guess I got to do the synopsis, and you were like, it's straightforward, which it is. It's very straightforward. So let me get into some of the other facts, I guess, and some of the other players involved. Real quickly, Ghost Town is 102 minutes, rated PG-13, had a production budget of $20 million. Its opening weekend, it did $5 million. Domestic, $13 million, and total worldwide, $27 million. So clearly not a popular movie, not a big movie, I guess.
I noticed it did better in England, which I expected because Ricky Gervais is a much bigger.
Right. For those who don't know who Ricky Gervais is, he was from The Office, the original Office, the BBC version. He's also in Extras, which I kind of like. That's an HBO show, yeah. And he hosts like the Golden Globes like every other year almost. So, which I think he's hosting this year, or he hosted. Right? I don't know when
he's hosting this year, but all his jokes have to go through lawyers this year. He said so.
Give me a break. Anyways. That's, I guess, a topic for another day. Released, like I said, released on September 19th, 2008. Same weekend it was released with, My Best Friend's Girl, Lakeview Terrace, which we've done, I'll get to that. Igor and the Duchess. The week before, Righteous Kill was out, The Women, and Burn After Reading. That's why this may sound familiar to you, because we had done Burn After Reading for our season. Right. For our season 3 premiere, actually.
Correct.
Interesting. Okay. And the week after Ghost Town, you had Eagle Eye, Nights in Rodantha, Miracle at St. Anna, and Choke. I would guess, since this is kind of like a romantic drama, romantic comedy, probably a rom-com almost.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. You're looking at maybe Nights in Rodantha as its competition. That's the Richard Gere drama where he falls in love with Diane Lane.
Yeah, I mean, My Best Friend's Girl maybe as well, a little bit. Although by then it's a little older.
Well, you're also in September, and as we always talk about, September is just kind of where they just put
It's a dump
stuff.
month.
Yeah, where they don't really know what it's going to do. I mean, only recently you had the movie It, the Chapter 1 and Chapter 2, which came out that first week of September, kind of like that was the week.
Yeah, but I feel like they dumped it as well, not knowing how it would do.
Maybe.
So 2 was just put there because 1 did so well in that spot.
Right, and you 3-hour horror movie. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Okay. Directed by David Koepp, he also was one of the writers. He wrote this with John Camps. Koepp, we have done a movie for David Koepp already called Stir of Echoes, which was in season 1. So go back and check that out. He's also directed The Trigger Effect, Secret Window, which Mike does not like, and Premium Rush, which I don't think you have seen, but it's actually not that bad. It's
I do want to watch
Yeah,
Premium
that's
Rush.
actually not bad.
I do like. I want to throw this out there.
Go for it.
I don't like Secret Window. I do love David Koepp. So
I don't know why you don't. I understand if you're not into Secret Window, but it's not a bad movie.
I've only watched it the one time, and I really, really, really did not like it.
Hey man, everyone's got opinions. It's fine.
I'll rewatch it.
you do not have to. For those who do not know who David Koepp is, he is also he wrote Jurassic Park, The Shadow, which another one that we did.
That's right.
Indiana Jones and Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, Angels and Demons. Like I said,
Jurassic Park.
I just said Jurassic Park.
Did
That was
you?
the first one I
Oh,
said.
I'm sorry.
You don't listen. Clearly, Butler does not listen to me when we do these podcasts.
Is Field talking right now?
John Camps, who co-wrote this, is responsible for Zathura, which I actually like quite a bit,
That's a good one.
and Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, the '95 movie. So I apologize.
I also like that one.
Ooh, we'll not do that here. Maybe for Fight Club.
You want some Mortal Kombat views? Put
Oh,
Rangers up there.
jeez, yeah. Cinematography by Fred Murphy. He did Trumbo, Eddie and the Cruisers, Hoosiers, which I love, and he also did Stir of Echoes. Music by Jeff Zanelli. He's responsible for Maleficent, Mistress of Evil, the Pacific series, and House of D. House of D, I think we should do for our podcast with Jack Black and James Marsden. No.
Oh, okay, yep, okay.
Yeah. And then one of the producers was Gavin Polone. He's produced Drop Dead Gorgeous and Zombieland, among other things. Again, all these people have tons of credits. I'm not going to sit here and list them all. I just want to list the ones maybe that you are familiar with out there. I went through kind of the cast. I'm going to do real quickly again, just to keep the characters' names. I told you that Bertram Pincus was played by Ricky Gervais. Gwen is Tay Leoni. Frank is played by Greg Kinnear. Dr. Prashar, who is Pincus's dental practitioner partner in the practice that he has, I'm going to screw the name up, is played by Asif Mandavi. Hey, I think I might have done that right. No, I did it wrong. Asif? Okay, I was close.
You were close. I didn't want to correct you.
No, you should correct me. If I get a name wrong, I should be corrected. I can't.
You were just so proud of yourself.
I was proud that I thought I got it. He was on. He's on the Daily Show, right?
He's on the Daily Show.
Okay.
He was also in The Brink, which is a show we both loved on HBO.
He's on that new Evil TV, that evil show on CBS, that TV show.
Oh, is he on that?
I don't know if he's got a recurring role or I noticed that one of his credits was there.
I like him quite a bit. He's very funny.
Kristen Wiig is in there. She's real quickly. She's in the beginning. She's the nurse or the surgeon. Excuse me. I know there's what's her name? Who's the woman from Glow, the TV show? Gilpin. Barry Gilpin. Is that wrong? Is that her name?
I don't watch Glow.
She's the nurse. That's what I have here.
Oh, the dead nurse. Okay.
Alan Rook from Ferris Bueller's Day Off and Speed is his credit is Ghost Dad, which I mean you couldn't give him a name.
Not a lot of people in this have names.
And the Rocketeer is Richard, who is Gwen's Gwen's love interest in this movie before Pincus rips her from him. And we actually Taylor and we just did The Family Man. So
yes,
yeah. Produced by Spyglass Entertainment, distributed by DreamWorks, and that is it for facts. I mean, I've got other ones, but they're not a lot. There's not a lot in this for this movie in terms of online.
When you got romantic comedies, I don't think you're gonna have a big filming notes and stuff like that.
Yeah,
I feel like they're pretty straightforward.
I'm looking for how things are shot. I'm looking for techniques if they were used. Right off the bat, the one thing I love about this movie is the writing. I love the writing, but also I like the fact that it was shot in New York. I like the fact that New York is almost one of the characters in this movie.
I love the time lapse shots. Yeah, I think those are some of the best New York City, and you see it all the time. The time lapse of New York City. I think those shots, they kind of bookend the movie. Are some of the best time lapse shots of New York City.
Yep. So this is an interesting movie because I only know a few people that me and my buddy really love this movie because there's a ton of quotable lines in this movie. And I've always said this to you. I think I've said this to you, and I've always said this to whoever. This movie has one of my favorite like last lines in a movie. Like one of my
You've been telling me that for years. Yeah.
I love the final. It's actually 2 lines, or it's a dialogue, but I really like it, and I always tell people, when they recommend a movie, I try to recommend Ghost Town. I don't think people like it as much as I like it, but that's fine. I mean, to each his own. I know Butler probably didn't like it that much because he doesn't have a heart. So, but I guess, why don't you tell? How about let's go negative? How about that? We go negative.
I like how you just assume I don't like this movie.
I do.
So we're just gonna let you assume all this.
Go ahead. Well, you tell me then. Open your mouth and say something. It's a podcast.
No. Because you didn't ask me if I liked it. You usually start with that.
I don't want to. I'm trying. It's the new season.
Let's begin.
New season. I'm trying to add something new.
Let's begin with the negative. He is the dentist with the worst teeth I've ever seen in my life.
He's British, and
that is actually a false statement. England, on average, actually have better teeth than Americans.
So what you're telling me then is that all the British people that have bad teeth are the ones that go into TV and film. Is that what you're saying?
A stereotype that they're just not as concerned with keeping them perfect.
Well,
his teeth are. Come on,
mine aren't perfect.
Mine are perfect.
No kidding.
Yeah.
It's called Invisalign. This episode brought to you by Invisalign.
Oh man, can I get it for free? Because I've always wanted it.
There's a commercial that's on the TV, and the woman's like, "We went to our dentist. We asked, is there any other option other than braces?" And the guy's obviously like Invisalign, but I would picture every dentist would be like, "No, braces."
We can rip out your teeth and give you some dentures right now.
All right. So what are we talking about? Oh, well,
that's a silly negative, but.
What, that he has a bad teeth?
Just as he's got bad teeth, he's supposed to be a dentist.
I will say, did you know that his name, Pincus, comes from the inventor of dental veneers, Dr. Charles Pincus?
Oh, I didn't know. I just thought it was such a bad
you like that?
last name that it's
that's why you got that.
As a crotchety man.
Listen, that's why you come to here. You come to the facts. You come to the podcast to learn something you might not have known before.
Thanks, man.
All right, fine. So that's your only negative? What did you like about the movie?
That's not my only negative.
Oh, man. I knew it.
The opening title sequence, I was not a huge fan of. It felt very amateurish. It just felt like it was like done on Photoshop.
Well, it's a small movie.
I get that it's a small movie, but I mean, it wasn't even like, it just seemed, it's the first thing both me and I watched this with my fiance again, and she had already seen it before. She likes this movie.
She sounds like a smart woman.
But it just seemed like low quality, like shadow backdrop on just a white font, something I used to make on my fake movie posters that I used to do in like high school and stuff. It just seemed really like, ugh.
Well, why would that why would that shade your view of the entire movie? Whether the font was used properly.
I just, for some reason, font really gets me in movies, like opening credits, end credits, the way they handle it. So that off the bat was like, a little jarring.
I can understand what you're saying, because what gets me in movies is story writing and and
not
filmmaking.
Me. Not me.
I got you.
Acting doesn't matter. Story doesn't matter.
So are you? So let me get this straight. Are you watching all the way to the credits and be like, oh, what are you doing with these scrolling credits? No.
There have been moments where I've gone through credits and I've just been in like, if we're like talking at the end when we do our screeners or whatever, and we're watching them, and all of a sudden they start doing the multiple columns, and your straight credits suddenly have 5 columns. It's like, I'm not reading 5 columns. Put it in the straight column. It's an extra half a minute.
My favorite is when the sound in the movie theater is so loud and bassy that your credits are shaking on the screen, and you're just like, oh yeah, that's quality. That's cool. And that has nothing to do with how the movies are, how the theaters are put together. They're put together properly. It has everything to do with the audio mix.
Yep.
But we're talking about Ghost Town.
That's pretty much it. There are a couple of awkward moments that I've talked to you about, how that sometimes make me a little uncomfortable. You're watching a Gervais movie, so you're gonna get that.
I didn't get that at all in this.
Were not. It wasn't as bad as like when last time I brought this up was Krampus. It does not get to that level.
Okay.
It does not get to Office levels.
Okay, well go ahead. Tell me what you're thinking about.
There's sometimes when he's trying to talk to her, and he mentions some stuff, and it's just like it doesn't land right.
Oh, you mean in the elevator?
Stuff in the elevator.
Well, he's supposed to be awkward, yeah. Or when he goes to see her, and he's talking to her about he's trying to say hi, and he's like, shoes. All right, there you go.
They both walk out, and they both walk out at the same time down the stage. Yeah. So he backs up and walks the other way. Just some stuff like that.
Well, he doesn't know how to talk to people. He doesn't like people.
Yeah. Other than that, I like this movie a lot.
Yeah. So, all right. I think one of the first line when Kinnear gets hit, his character is Frank again. when he gets killed, and then they have the New Yorker guys like, he dead, and he's like, he ain't happy. It's like that's first of all, you just saw a guy get mowed down, so clearly it's not pretty, and you. So I love the fact that it's just kind of like, he ain't happy. Oh, we see this all the time, but that's classic NYC, which is fine, which I love it, and I love that he is really rude. I don't know. I shouldn't like the fact that Pincus is so rude to people.
He's beyond
but I love it, and I shouldn't, and it's like. I don't know. He's such a jerk, and it's just kind of like what I like about him being a misanthrope. It's not explained away by some kind of condition. I think that too many times, like nowadays, when you have somebody on screen that's if he's a jerk or he doesn't like people, they kind of like try to categorize it as socially awkward or anxiety disorder or something like that. There are people that are just jerks, and I like that. I like that it's not explained away, because that's a whole other track you got to take, and that would not help the movie in any regard. I mean,
they kind of do that with his with Sarah.
Well, no, he's a jerk. He's the way he is because he was hurt by someone. So no, he shuts up. I'm saying like he doesn't have a disorder of some sort.
There are some people who are just jerks, not just because their lady left them. Some people are just jerks.
I believe we are both looking at two jerks, right?
I think so. Yeah.
We should name the podcast the Two Jerks.
We're not mean enough on our podcast.
No, we're not real. I think
we want to be jerks, but we're not.
No, I think I always take the tact of the description of when I'm not a nice person. I'm trying to be a nice person. No, new year, new me, that kind of crap. But when we're at work and we're like in True Detective, do you ever see the first season of True Detective?
No.
When Woody Harrelson's trying to explain to Matthew McConaughey, like there are bad people in the world, like, but we're bad people. We're the bad people to keep the other bad people out. So we're jerks to people that are jerks. Like I'm perfectly nice at work. I am. I'm nice at work. I have good customer service skills. But when somebody comes up with an attitude thinking that they can just crap all over us because they've had a bad day, well, that's not going to fly. I'm sorry. I'm not going to fly. I can't. Oh God, I can't stand it. But anyways, I'm not. I'm really a nice guy. Hey guys, I'm a nice guy.
So many viewers. We just lost so many viewers.
Please, they haven't even started.
That's true.
So he obviously in the beginning has a colonoscopy. And that's when he dies for 7 minutes, and that's the whole version of him. He can see dead people.
I love that scene.
Have you ever had colonoscopy?
No, I don't love the idea of the colonoscopy. I just love the scene when he gets in the room with the big guy.
Oh, when they're in the smaller
area and he's not talking.
Yeah.
He's pointing to the files.
You'll be happy to know that we have a strict 3-strike policy here. He hit 2 strikes on him.
Sometimes when the procedures, everything that looks good. That looks good. All right. Yep.
Well, back to the colonoscopy, because when he had it, he had to do the 3 shake thing. I've never done 3 shakes. I've never known that. I've never known 3 shakes. You only take. I've had like it's a little smaller thing, and you have to take one half of it and then another half of it. It tastes disgusting. It's like you have to chase it down with like water or something. It's like pure gag reflex when you're drinking it. It's terrible, and the aftermath is not painful. You just have to go. But it's just
when he's knocking on the
you gotta go. It just clears you out. That's basically what it is.
Did he have a colonoscopy or did he have something a little further? Because they said surgery.
So
if I feel like they went a little further than
they say in the thing it says colonoscopy in their synopsis.
Yeah, they say that.
Well, they do knock you out because I was knocked out when I had mine.
Yeah, but you don't go see a surgeon like that and get out. You just go to a regular practitioner.
I mean,
right?
yeah. Well, you don't do it at a hospital.
Right.
You do it at what I had was like, when you go to like an outpatient kind of thing. Yeah. So I don't know. But this is also what year are we in? This is 12 years ago. So it's 11 years ago. Maybe it's different. I don't know. Because I didn't have mine 10 years ago. I had it a long time ago. So I don't know. It's not something I'm looking forward to when I get older. You have to have them as you get older. Good luck. Don't actually say ass feeling.
I like when Kinnear's sitting down at the bar and he's telling him, "Oh yeah, how'd that feel? I haven't had that done yet." Oh, okay.
One of the things I like overall about this movie, because I know we're just sitting here talking about, quotes and stuff, butts and ass feelings and butt stuff and all that stuff. One of the things I liked is just the ease of the storytelling, just how it's. When I say simple, I don't mean that as a negative. I mean that as a positive. I think too many times you have movies that are trying to cram in other subplots. They're trying to make, for whatever the reason, the writer did it, or there was a note to increase someone's, minor character's story arc to give her more stuff to do, stuff to do, or an actor wants more stuff to do. there's just an ease to the storytelling in this movie where it's very simple. And I say that in a complimentary way,
Right.
that you just end up just watching and enjoying, and you're able to enjoy the jokes. You're able to enjoy and they're not like, it's not like Gervais is doing stand up. I mean, I guess you know what I mean?
He has pieces, but yes, he doesn't. Yeah.
Right.
It's not as freestyle. It's not as improv as I think some of his other stuff is.
Sure. But it's within the conversation of whatever they're like when he's talking to the Rocketeer and Billy Campbell.
Just keep calling him. No, just keep calling the Rocketeer.
To keep calling him Richard. He's Richard in the movie. And they're having dinner and he calls him over and he was like, you know, he's talking about how he was over in Thailand or Taiwan or another, and he was talking about how he was, you know, dealing with prostitution and with these women, they don't have any health care, you know, and when I go back and he goes, oh, you're still in the sex trade, and like he didn't get the joke, and like Gwen's laughing and he's just like, oh, what, you know, and Richard's just kind of like, I guess to quote my son, a noob, and he doesn't understand what's going on. Like that kind of stuff, those kind of jokes are within the context of what's happening in front on the screen. It's not Gervais pulling from one of his routines or as a lot of comics will do, which is annoying.
Yeah, he's got a couple where it's almost like a routine, like the thing about the Chinaman's name.
True. Yep.
That's a little bit of a bit.
Mm-hmm.
I would say the only joke that pulled me out is when he's trying to get the Rocketeer to to talk about what he and Gwen had talked about, and he's trying to interrogate him, and he goes to Dr. Passar and he's like, "You're from a war-torn country, right? You know, like that bit was almost like out of character for him. Like he's mean, but like at no point did we get he was racist.
Yeah, I could see that.
And that kind of took me out a little bit. That one joke was like, that was unnecessary.
Yeah, I can see that. That's understandable.
There's being an asshole, and then there's being irreprehensible. Come on.
Is Prashar the one that says to him, "You've got a problem with people"? No, is that Frank?
That's Frank. No,
okay,
Prashar's like, don't be such a fucking dick.
It's like, you got a problem with people? Yeah, they suck.
Yes.
I liked even though it's green screened at the end, I almost have like on my note is green screen sighting when Pincus gets hit by the bus.
I was gonna have that as my complaint.
Oh, really? No. I'm not talking about whether that's a complaint or not. You can have that as a complaint. Yeah. No, that's fine. I'm saying that I like the fact that they repeated the same death that Frank had when Pincus gets hit with the jacket in the air.
I do like that.
That's what I'm talking about. No, you don't. Go ahead.
It's poorly done.
It's poor. Yeah.
If you watch movies, and if you're listening to this podcast, you probably do watch movies.
I watch movies.
Yeah. As soon as he walked down the steps, I was like, he's not there. He's not there. He's getting hit by a car. Something's happening. He's highlighted. He's got black highlights on him.
But here's the thing.
It's so poorly done.
That's why I wish there were more notes on this, because I wonder why they had to green screen that. Like, is that a pickup? You know what I mean? Like, did they not have audio when they did it? Because they were there.
Yeah, I was going to say the other shots are clearly in front of the National History Museum. So
as far as I know, that's the only green screen shot. As far as I know.
That's the only poorly done green screen
shot.
Well,
I mean, no. I mean, yeah, I guess. No, I guess.
I mean, Kinnear's was probably, at the beginning, his was probably, Frank's death was probably green screen.
No, I don't think so. Was it? I'd have to go back.
Gervais's was.
Well, but I'm saying the reason why Gervais's Pincus's was because maybe they didn't have a good audio for the last. You know what I mean? Maybe there was a reason why they couldn't get the shot. I don't know. I'm asking.
I like that it's bookended with the same two accidents, but I don't like how telegraphed it was for the audience. Mm-hmm. That's my only complaint.
Okay.
That's it. It's just like the whole time I'm watching, I was waiting. It's like when you have certain things in movies, and even like video games do this, where things are slightly off color in like a set, and you're like, that's a secret door, or that's going to be this.
Oh, right.
Do this. And it's just like you're waiting for it to happen, and it's like,
that's the best part for me, because then I don't have to try to figure anything out. I know that there's something, and then you see in the games, you see something, and you're like, it's not really ready to be activated yet until like, 10 minutes later, you're just like, oh, what am I wasting this is something. I can do it now.
It's like the old school Doom game where you're just like clicking on the walls because one's a secret wall. This one's slightly greener than the other. It open. It's like, come on.
Well, I don't want to be challenged as a gamer. I just want to play the game. So I appreciate that.
But that's the same thing. I don't want to be. It's like, but do you want to be challenged as a viewer? Like, I don't want to. I don't want things telegraphed to me like that.
Well, but you're also an experienced movie watcher, as you said before.
Well, yeah, but someone who watches movies is going to pick that
Somebody
up.
who doesn't is not going to pick that up.
No.
And these movies are for people these are for general audiences. You know what I mean? Which I kind of wish that this movie caught on more. I kind of wish that more people were attracted to this movie. I don't know.
Do we want to talk about why it's forgotten?
Ooh, well, it's almost as if we have a podcast with that name. Yeah, go ahead. What do you think?
I think it's because of Gervais.
Because he's...
This is 2008.
Yeah.
He's just kind of becoming something in America at this point. He's not exactly leading man looks or style. He's not particularly jokey. You don't get a lot of what makes him unique and funny at this point. And I think maybe that kind of tears people away. Your other lead is Téa Leoni, who at this point is kind of, hasn't done a lot at this point. Like I talked last episode, she kind of falls off a little bit, maybe because she had her kids and she has a family, which like we talked about is fine. It's great.
Sure.
But now you've got two less popular leads, and David Koepp's. We love David Koepp, and I'm sure people who like film like David Koepp, but he's also not like directed by David Koepp, and it's a romantic comedy, which generally speaking usually has Matthew McConaughey in it as someone who just couldn't grow up.
Right.
So I feel like that's probably why it kind of took people out, and it's also not released around Valentine's Day, which I was surprised about.
Well, that's just
September. I would think it'd be like a February release would have done better, or something closer to the winter season. Seems to be when a lot of romantic comedies kind of come out.
Well, The Office was 2001 to 2003. That was for him. And then you're not. So I understand why, American audiences, because this is back when everything wasn't readily available to you for streaming and stuff like that.
Right.
So, because I remember when the original, and I like the American Office. I'm not saying I don't like the American Office, but I've always preferred the British Office version. I don't know why. I like the humor. I like him
because you like that awkwardness.
I like his dry humor. There's a lot of stuff, and plus they came first, so that to me that kind of.
Well, the first season of The American Office is essentially a photocopy,
which I hated,
an Americanized photocopy of the British one. Yes,
yeah, which I couldn't stand when it first came out because I'm like, I've seen this already, But to its credit, it obviously graduated to be its own thing.
Often, yes,
and that's completely great, and it's funny and it's hilarious. And I still don't have that like, oh, I prefer this one. I don't ever say that. They're two different things, and that's fine. So this movie's 2008, but he had just come off of Extras on HBO. So I mean, he is. I know what you're saying. And he was in Night at the Museum in 2006, a small role. He was in Stardust. He was in For Your Consideration. These are all smaller roles in movies. That some are good, some are some are successful, some weren't successful. So this is his first starring role in a feature film, yes.
Right. And like you were saying, like there's no streaming and stuff, like what's it called? The Anglophobia or whatever? Or not phobia. There's like a thing where you're like obsessed with British stuff. I can't remember the name of it.
Ooh, I don't know what that is.
But it's like that. It's harder to become that kind of a fan or a viewer. Now you have BBC America puts out all this stuff, and BBC American has grown after 2010 to be very much like a regular channel that a lot of people watch.
Anglophile.
Anglophile, that's the word. Yep. Doctor Who. You've got Ricky Gervais now has hosted, like you said, the Golden Globes countless times. He's been on countless different things.
He's more of a personality celebrity. He's not like somebody like his new movie's coming out. You're gonna go see Ricky Gervais and like, you know what I mean, like a Denzel Washington, like a Harrison Ford. He's more of a personality himself.
Right. You want to see the comedian. You want to see him do jokes.
But that's not somebody who's like he's not like he's very popular.
He's
but
not a box office draw, right?
So, yeah, agreed. Yeah.
You're not going, I need, like you said with Denzel, like we've talked about numerous times.
Doesn't matter what he's in. That movie's
doesn't matter what he's in. Can I get the Denzel movie?
Absolutely.
You're not going, get me that Gervais picture.
The Ricky Gervais movie coming out?
Exactly.
No. But I know I don't think we're being critical of him because I still think he's great.
I love Ricky Gervais.
He's hilarious.
No, absolutely. Yeah. I'm just saying 2008, I think maybe if this movie came out
a couple years ago. If it came out now, this is not a $20 million movie. This is a higher. Actually, it's probably more of like a $5 million, so someone could buy it. But yeah, I don't know. But you have a strong cast.
I'm just saying a more popular, the way he's popular now. If he was popular back then, at that point, this movie might have done a little better.
Sure. I think that goes into just his box office draw. Maybe why it's forgotten, as you say. I think the fact that he makes a comment like how everybody, what was the comment he says? Something like, oh, what everyone wants, a fat British middle-aged man, in a romantic comedy or something like that. Like I think that's a tough draw, I'm sure, and we're talking about general audiences. I'm sure this did well in New York, and I'm sure it did well obviously for people that are fans of him. But he's the biggest draw. I don't think Greg Kinnear is the biggest draw here. Téa Leoni. I mean, they're great. They're good actors who are great complementary pieces to this. It's his movie. It's Gervais' movie.
Absolutely, yeah.
So even like Kristen Wiig is not the big star that she is now. Back then, she's still from SNL.
Yeah, she's still on SNL at this point.
Yeah, like her star is rising at this point. Yeah. Absolutely. So there's probably it's a movie that's I like. It's really good, and it's almost like, even though it's the right time, in terms of the people involved, the right place in terms of the director and the writer, it's probably not the right time and right place in terms of becoming a financial success.
Right.
Would it do well now? I don't know. I don't know.
I just think it would do better because of Gervais's star at this point.
Yeah.
But I mean, the actors are fantastic. Like Greg Kinnear, the first thing I noticed when he was in it, which I forgot he was in it.
Really?
But then I saw him and I was like, I really like Greg Kinnear. And I don't know, like, I haven't seen him in a lot lately. What's he been doing?
Well, he was recently. He was in the last season of House of Cards.
Okay.
He played. He was him and his Diane Lane. Actually, again, another Diane Lane shout out here. They play brother and sister, but they're kind of like, I think they're supposed to be like the Koch brothers. And this is obviously because Frank is dead now. And spoiler alert. And House of Cards. So they're kind of trying to align themselves against Claire in the movie. So they're bad. They're not good or whatever. But he's in a lot of he's been in a lot of like smaller stuff. He was in the Brian Banks movie. He's in. I think he had a couple episodes on Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt. But I have, because I'm going through his.
IMDb.
Yeah, I'm going through his IMDb page. He's in a bunch of stuff coming out, but he's in the Netflix one, the Red Sea Diving Resort.
Okay. Yep.
Okay, but he's in the Stand, a TV series that they're.
Oh, is he going to be in the Stand?
So
okay.
he's probably just sometimes you got to take a break. I guess I don't know.
That makes sense. I mean, he was doing a lot in the early 2000s.
I don't know if you've seen the Mark Wahlberg movie Invincible, where he plays.
Yes,
he's really good in that. He plays.
I think he's
Dick
really
Vermeil.
good in pretty much everything.
Not Dick Vermeil. No, I think it is Dick Vermeil. He plays, yeah. Anyways,
and he's got the chops that he can do comedy and drama, which not a lot of people can.
No, and he's from The Soup, the original Talk Soup.
Oh, is he?
Yeah, you remember that?
I remember
he was
Joe McHale version.
Well, Joe McHale.
I know he wasn't the first host,
fourth host.
I forgot who
fourth or fifth host. He was the original. When it was called the Talk Soup, and then
so he started comedy kind of.
Oh yeah. But and then he went from there to acting. Well, they're mostly all of them are actors when they're doing the shows. Yeah, right. So So
cool.
He'll be back. You'll see him again.
All right. Cool. Do you like the hail? Where it starts to hail in the movie?
I like the joke that he says, like when he's like hasn't even had the decency to rain. What's the worst of the precipitation? I don't know why I'm trying to do an English accent, but that's what he says.
I just feel like that's like, was it so he could say that joke? Was it so he could run into the dentist's office? Like, it could have rained. I don't get the hail. Like,
I don't know.
Is it an act of God? Because nothing else seemed like an act of a higher power.
When does the hail come again?
As soon as he gets screwed over by Frank.
Right.
And Frank tells him the wrong dream.
I think it's just a kick. Well, it's not only that it's hail, but it's also just a huge winter storm. So it's hail, and then it rains, and it's sleeting and raining. It's icing everywhere. He can't walk. It could be two things. It could be just because he is just bummed out now, and it's just got terrible weather, or they had to deal with it because it actually happened or something. You know what I mean? Like they had to actually come up with something.
Yeah,
I don't mind it. I
didn't mind it. I just wondered. Why it didn't bother me so much before, but the more I thought about it, I was kind of like, why?
Well, that feels like something that was in the script initially, and they liked it, and he had a good line, so they just kept it.
Yeah.
Two things that I caught in the rewatch that I hadn't before was when Pincus and Frank are watching Gwen do the mummy presentation at the beginning, and they're talking about what are we going to do, because Frank's basically, we haven't even said this yet, but Frank wants Pincus to, his unfinished business is to break up Gwen and Richard, because he thinks that Richard's a jerk.
Yes.
Right. That's what he thinks his unfinished business is. And when they're watching her do the presentation for the mummy that she's about to display, the arrows that point to the mummy behind her, and she's like in the frame, they actually point to her, and you actually hear like ding, ding, ding. You hear like this audio cue. And then at that moment is when Pincus has the idea of like he likes her, so he has the idea like, well, maybe we just need to put an alternative. So I didn't notice that, like that was almost like his realization, was attracted to her, right? I didn't notice that, which I liked. And then I really like when he tells Gwen why he can see Frank when they're outside, they're walking. When we talked about when he gets screwed over by Frank, he tells him the wrong nightmare.
Mm-hmm.
And he starts to tell her, and they have the drums that drown it out because we don't need to hear it. We already know the story.
I like that as well.
Right.
Yeah.
And I appreciate that, because that's like, it's almost like, listen, you've already heard this. Don't worry about it. We'll get to it. Yeah.
And we're back.
Yeah, exactly. And then ultimately she says, prove it. Tell me the nightmare. Frank screws him over, tells him the wrong nightmare, and she leaves.
I like his line too. I like Frank's line because she's already had a self-serving a jerk.
Yeah.
She doesn't need another one.
Exactly. So the whole idea is that these ghosts have unfinished business, and then we haven't even talked about after the hail comes and he is depressed and he tries to get his partner to
give him
to get a prescription for Percocet.
I'm not asking for morphine, and then he like looks at him like.
But then he Prashad tells him, the whole business of being a complete asshole. Where does it get you in life? That kind of thing. And then I'm thinking, don't talk to me, Ghost Town. I don't need that. But then he goes and starts helping those other people. Alan Ruck's character, Ghost Dad, the old woman who says, and they start going transcending to the other realm.
Right. I like how they transcend too. I like that it's a light ends up getting brighter.
Right.
And they disappear.
And all that's very touching, and all that's very just, it's nice. It's I don't know. It's just a nice 15 minutes of the movie where he's accepting change in terms of in his personality and his life because of, what had just happened. And you're also seeing him complete some of these supporting characters that have been in this story throughout, trying to get him to help him.
In the scenes, right.
Right.
The only thing that bothers me about that, and all the scenes are great. What's the first ghost he meets is Nurse Lady. I really wanted him to fix Nurse Lady's thing. I wanted to know what her thing was. I mean, that was the very first ghost he met. I was very surprised that was not something that we see him fix. Yeah. And I wonder if they shot that as like a deleted scene.
Well, there's a ton of them.
Yeah, but you would think the very first one that you meet would be something you complete.
Well, you would think that he's going to continue doing this moving forward, even though he's
in an 8-part miniseries on Netflix.
Prime Video presents Ghost Town, the series. But who would star in it now?
You'd have to get someone who could play a good misanthrope.
Are we still going British?
I don't know if you need to go British, but you need to go. You need to have an unconventional leading man like Gervais.
What about Tennant?
A lot of ladies like him a lot.
Yeah, but he could be a jerk.
He could be a jerk. He plays a good jerk.
So you want somebody who is not likable to begin with.
I want someone who's not tall and thin.
I'm not saying I want the part, Butler.
And good looking. I want somebody who's a little frumpy around the edges.
What about the dude that plays Richard Jewell, and he was in I, Tonya? What about him?
That's
that's too much.
That's too frumpy. Well, maybe
you better cut that out. That's fine.
Maybe.
I mean, yeah, I would. I mean, but also then I would, now we're talking. We're delving into the CBS series God Friended Me, which it looks like garbage. So I don't.
You've already got Godfrey. What's the other one where he gets the? What was the one where there was the girl and she kept fixing people's problems?
What channel?
I don't know.
You talking about Early Edition? That's what.
No, I was going to mention Early Edition as well.
There's that.
Early Edition. I can't remember her name. The Joan of Arcadia.
Yep.
Was the title of it.
All right, cool.
So it's something like that. So these shows have been done. I don't necessarily want to see that series. I just really wanted to see that nurse's show done. Her story done.
World War II Nurse. The series.
These shows and the premise of Ghost Town, of fixing ghosts' unfinished business, is not new.
Well, but in this movie, it's not their unfinished business that's keeping them there. It's the living's unfinished business that is keeping them there.
Right, because they're almost tethered to those people.
Gwen is still hung up on him, on Frank. The old lady's her daughters. She's mad at her other sister. She's mad at her sister because she doesn't understand something.
The Irish mafia guy needs him to do a hit for him.
I know. Listen, there's a gun underneath my cut. Just go get it.
I don't know. Drive it down to see.
I don't want to know what the naked guy's problem is.
I've got a woman. She's still tied up.
So this is probably. Is this one of our first romantic comedies? Is this that we've done here, or one of the first?
It is. I mean, I don't think we put a lot of romantic comedies on our list. Well, we have a few.
I feel like, I feel like with a lot of podcasts, with a lot of people that talk about movies online, a lot of podcasts that talk about movies, with a lot of movie geeks, movie nerds, what have you.
Mm-hmm.
There, it's usually males. It's usually guys.
Oh, absolutely.
And it's a movie like this is not a movie that a lot of those people are going to watch, are going to be drawn to. And number one, that shouldn't be the case. When I first started getting into movies, I mean, I wanted to watch everything because and I liked everything. I liked all different types of stories.
Right.
I mean, I don't necessarily respond to horror as much because I always like story more than gore or what's happening. I can appreciate the stuff that's happening, but a horror movie for me that has a really good story is one that I like.
Right.
You don't have to like all these. You don't have to like romantic comedies.
Well, that's the thing about romantic comedies is a lot of time I think they're the same thing as horror movies, but dealing with emotion. And then I like the schmaltz.
Right.
They use schmaltz like horror movies use gore.
And I think
schmaltz over substance.
But I think a lot of people view that as a negative, and that's
a lot of guys, absolutely, yeah.
And a lot of people view just the corniness of certain things as a negative. And it's only corny because it's true. It's only corny because it's making you feel something.
Right.
You know what I mean? So the fact that he hates people, which is what we love, I think we both can agree you can't live life like that. So eventually you have to. Prashar's right. The business of being a jerk, such a major asshole.
Yeah.
It doesn't lead you anywhere that you want to be if you want to be somebody who's accepted by other people and friends with people and just kind of not accepted in terms of just right, just somebody who people like to talk to and say hi to and stuff like that. If you're going to consistently act like a jerk and not like people aren't going to like you and you're going to be alone.
Yep.
So, but I just think that it would be nice to see more movies like this talked about in terms of like everybody loves Joker and that's fine. Joker's a great movie, fantastic. But it's like there are other really good movies that have done the same thing that Joker has done. And I think people don't watch them. You know what I mean? Like story-wise. Not the Joker storyline, but storyline-wise.
I get that.
You know, like I'm somebody who is misunderstood by society, somebody who lashes out, somebody who turns a dark path, that kind of stuff. I'm just saying that because it's a comic book movie, because it's a certain type of movie, I think only certain type of people like that. Like movie geeks, movie lovers will respond to that better than a movie like, this is a bad example, but like Ghost Town.
Yeah.
No, but what I'm trying to say is that you can't stop discounting movies that are based in a genre that you don't normally watch.
What's interesting is I was actually when I was in the car driving up to this, I was thinking about because Andrew Morgan from the Nomcast posted yesterday about
what I tell you about free plugs.
Sorry, we know Andrew. It's fine.
Okay.
He had posted something on Twitter like, "What's your favorite Netflix original movie?" So I was in the car, I was thinking, I hadn't watched, Marriage Story because
it's sad.
It's something that I don't really respond to, and it's probably something like you said. It's not. It's too, I guess, real. And I like Adam Driver, and I do kind of want to see it. But at the same time, it's like when I'm at home and I want to watch a movie.
Yep.
I don't want to watch a marriage fall apart. It's so realistic and so true and real. It's like that's sad, and it's almost like it's so real, like you're almost like a voyeur, and it's almost uncomfortable.
Sure, absolutely.
And I think that's why I respond more to something a little more like Joker. Just pepper something in that suspends my disbelief, at least a little bit.
Sure.
The same with what's the Sam Mendes movie with Leonardo DiCaprio?
Oh yeah, I was just gonna bring that up. Revolutionary
Road. It's like
it's a fantastic
movie, but
it's very tough to watch.
It's tough to watch. But that's also like American Beauty, which I don't like, but that's something I would more watch because it does have that little suspension of disbelief. You get his inside his mind a little bit, and it kind of bends the reality slightly.
Well, the storyline in American
like that,
right? The storyline in American Beauty is what's more heartbreaking in that one is the Chris Cooper storyline with Wes Bentley, because he thinks his son's gay and he's he wants something to do with it because he's actually somebody who likes men and he can't admit that. And so yes, that storyline is very tragic to the point where he goes over and obviously kills Spacey's character. Yeah.
But it's still like that's. Parts of that movie are a little less realistic.
Okay.
And that kind of allows, I think, the more like a viewer like me into it, like you're saying.
Sure.
So when you get a movie like Ghost Town, let's try that back.
Sure.
You get the ghost aspect, you get that romantic comedy aspect, but there are touching moments where it's like trying to teach you that lesson of not being a misanthrope, not being such a jerk to everybody. And I guess it's almost like an entry into that.
What I'm trying to say, and to your point, which I agree with, and what I'm trying to say is, if you're somebody that appreciates the cinematic arts, I love movies. I love all like people who say that. Oh, right. I love movies. I'm such a movie aficionado. We've talked about this before. People are like, I've never seen a movie past 1993. It's like, then you're not a movie aficionado. No, I get it.
I know who you're talking about when you mention that. So it gets me so mad every time I hear that quote.
You're not then. I mean, you don't. I'm not saying that you have to go and watch every single dramatic movie or every single rom-com, but you do need to watch other genres in order to appreciate the genre that you're watching.
Oh, absolutely.
More. I mean, yeah.
And if you're talking about how it's mostly guys not watching, like ball up and feel something for once.
Oh,
you know?
absolutely.
Stop penting everything in. Stop acting like it's weak to like. So like, I didn't tear up in this movie, but it's a nice movie and it made me feel good at the end. You know,
I tear up. I tear up. Well, now that we're gonna bring it back,
you're gonna bring it back to that line.
I tear up at the last line. So at the last line of the movie, so he's a dentist. He actually gets hit by a bus, and then I guess I want to say it's like 6 months later, right, or 8 months later, something like that. He's remarkably have no ill effects, which is fine. It's a movie, and he's at the office, and Gwen shows up, and she says, she talks to him about, I haven't seen you, and she's like, my teeth still, my bad molar con. She's like, oh, step on in here, I'll help you out. And she's like, no, I made the appointment prescribed. And I was like, no, that's fine. He's a great. He has that line. He's like, he's a much better dentist than I am. Don't tell him. You see that he's obviously there's a shift in
he's been a changed guy. Yeah,
absolutely. And Frank tells him the real nightmare that he has, and he tells her that. So she leaves, and then she comes back. So after he just tells her just because he wanted to tell her, and he's gone. He went to a better place. He says he moved on to. He found his way home. That's what he says. Yeah, yep. So she leaves, and then she comes back, and all she says, it hurts when I smile. And all he says, like, I can fix that for you, which is great because obviously he's a dentist, but that's not what he's saying. And, that's not what she's saying. And it's just like,
right.
It's a line that it's a simple line that you read on the page, but it means countless things. It means other things. And it's just, it's a great way to end the movie. It's a great way where you're like, oh, right. Excellent. You know what I mean? So that gets me a little emotional.
It hurts when I smile. I can fix that for you.
I love it because I love the writing. I love just the machination of what went into that. I don't know. It's just I'm appreciative of that.
It's Koepp.
Absolutely. He's a great writer. Absolutely.
He's a great writer. You talk about how there's no extraneous things. That's always Koepp's MO. Mm-hmm. His movies always flow. They're always quick. The one thing I do appreciate about Secret Window is there's a plot. It sticks to it.
Yeah.
It's a very short movie.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like, this is our plot. This is our story.
Your movie shouldn't.
Koepp does not do a lot of subplots in anything that I can think of that he's done.
Your movie shouldn't be long. I'm sorry.
Right.
Now, I know that our next episode is a 3-hour movie, and that's fine. But on par, typically, your movie shouldn't be more than 2 hours.
Yes.
You should be able to tell your story within, I say always, the sweet spot is an hour and a half to an hour and 45. And this movie's what, 102 minutes, I said? Let me just check that. Yeah. So there you go. You gotta stop making things complex when you tell stories these days. Just make it simple. Keep it simple. You don't. The audience just wants to be told a story. It's okay if it's short. It doesn't have to be a 300-page opus.
No. There are some movies that could be, but 99.9% of movies.
Sure. And I get why some of the bigger movies, some of the tentpole movies, some of the world building movies are big because they're building other movies. And,
like we've talked about the Infinity War and Endgame movies.
Sure.
It's the payoff of 20 movies. They've earned a little bit of extra screen time.
And that's
the typical movie does not.
And that's fine. I know what you're getting yourself into. That's fine. But like they don't all have to be like that. Yeah. And even to the point where you have these horror movies where like you have The Conjuring, The Conjuring 2, The Nun, Annabelle, they're all in the same. Those are short. Those aren't long. And they do the same. They do the same thing. So they do the same thing with world building. I really think people should, I know that if you don't see the movie and you listen to us first before you see the movie, it's kind of weird, but I hope that you did watch the movie and you did appreciate it a little bit.
It's got a great soundtrack.
It does. You got the Beatles song in the beginning,
which is the first time that song had ever been used.
Right. It's got a couple songs where like you could just use. You said when you're at work today.
Oh yeah, I was playing Citizen Koepp and it's got John Mayer. I'm sorry.
Honestly,
John Mayer's good.
I might play it tonight when I'm counting money because it's just really they're really good songs. This is just a really good movie, and I'm glad you liked it.
I did.
If you just give it a shot, if you're with a significant other and you want to just watch something one night, it's not a terrible watch. It's absolutely not. It's definitely worth your effort.
Yes, and it's not super schmaltzy either. It's not.
But who cares?
Yeah,
who cares if it's super schmaltzy?
The schmaltz is fine.
Yeah,
but it doesn't rely on that. It's a really well done romantic comedy.
Absolutely, and I think it was a good movie to kick off season 4.
Yeah, and so close to Valentine's Day.
Oh, happy Valentine's Day, Mike. I didn't get you anything.
Oh,
yeah, sorry. All right, so I think we're wrapped up. I think we're good.
I think so.
All right. Since we haven't done this in a while, I guess let's plug some stuff. Ooh. We're not going to do this all. This will be the first and only time we do it. So
do it during the premieres.
Yeah, absolutely. So I guess tell you where we are in our I guess, our other stuff we're doing.
All right.
You want me to go, or you
Why
want
don't you go first?
Okay. I'm gonna be honest. I haven't written in a while. It's kind of taking me off. We've been really busy at work and with life and stuff like that. So I have been doing. There's a couple things I'm doing. I know I've talked about where I was going to be shooting the short film.
Mhm.
That's actually going to happen in the next couple weeks. We are actually physically circling dates, and we're going to be doing some makeup tests soon in terms of the creature effects and stuff like that.
Nice.
Part of the reason for the pushback was financial reasons. I got, it's tough to say like, hey, let's do this movie, and I'm spending money on Christmas and holidays, buying gifts and stuff like that. So you kind of have to increase the pot, if you will.
Well, in this case, we're filming. We record in advance. So where are you at?
Oh,
in
shoot,
terms
you're
of
right.
now?
So we're right now we're in the first week of January. So by the time you hear this, I would hope that we shot one of them. I think we're splitting up the days.
Okay.
So I would think that if we have not shot one day, maybe we've shot two. So it's going to be a 3-day shoot because it's 3 different locations, and one of the locations is we're outside for most of the location. We're running around downtown Danbury, so it's going to be cold. So it's going to be a long. So we're like, let's just do it one night, and that's we only do that stuff. Let's not worry about. Plus, ever since watching Once Upon a Time in Hollywood and now watching 1917, I just want to do one shots I want to do just one solid shots. And the actual first scene in the short is one shot, which
Nice.
I'm like, I'm happy about. Because me and the guy I'm working with, Renato Gio from our media, we're both like in tune with like what we want to do. I don't know, I'm all in on one shot. So I mean, if I could do an entire movie one shot, I would. So Sam Mendes, awesome. 1917 is fantastic. But yeah, so that's what I should be doing. I know that I had been, before I was writing a bunch of stuff. I've almost finished the second short story. Hopefully going to start another one, but it's just basically just this. We're doing the podcast, and I'm doing another podcast with a friend of mine, a friend of ours actually, that we're not really going to announce yet, but we're just kind of like recording and stuff like that. So it's basically we watched, just me and you, just watching a lot of movies.
Yep.
We've been guesting on a couple podcasts. Just kind of meeting other people, just trying to, I guess our big thing this year is to get our stuff out there and get our name out there.
2020 is the year of forgotten cinema. Help us out.
But go ahead, Mike. I've rambled. Go ahead.
Okay. You can also visit Mike Field and all his stuff at michaeldfield.com.
See, this is what I'm talking about. We talked about it last episode. I need a posse. I need a pitch man. Who wants to join my posse?
I got your back, man.
I'm not paying you. I'm serious about the 5% of what I bring in. If you want to just be the pitch man, go ahead.
All right. This is Michael Butler here. I've got 2 other podcasts I do. I've got Crack One Open with Mike and Elise, a podcast about brews, news, and pop culture reviews where we talk about beer, usually beer, sometimes it's wine. We talk about the brewery. We talk about the style. We talk about the history of the different type of beer or wine we're drinking at the time. And after our tasting notes, we start talking about the latest in pop culture news and reviews. So what's on Netflix, HBO, Hulu, TV, all that kind of good stuff. What's coming up, what's already out. And then I've also got 2 Player Bros, a podcast by 2 brothers who play way too many video games about all things video game related. News, previews, reviews on all current systems, Xbox, PlayStation, Switch, PC, and VR. Both of those podcasts are available wherever podcasts are available. And you can visit us at social medias at Crack One Open or at 2 Player Bros. I've also probably got another podcast in the works. However, I'm recording it at the moment. It probably won't be released until the spring. And so I will announce that at a later time.
Sorry, was that inappropriate?
I don't know. At this point in the recording, maybe I've done some acting at this point. We'll see.
Ooh, what are you doing? Where are you in?
I don't
What have you been in?
Nothing.
Listen, you want to do some community theater together? I want to get back in.
You ain't got time. You got 8 podcasts.
Seriously.
Now you've got 8 podcasts.
No, can one of them make money?
And of course, we've got Forgotten Cinema.
That's us.
So we are available wherever podcasts are available. You're already listening to us at some place. You can also visit us on all the social medias at Forgotten Cinema Pod. We're available at ForgottenCinemaPodcast.com. You can contact us on our contact page on that website or on social media. Let us know what you guys want to see, and we will do it at some point. We promise. We might take a little while to get to it, but we'll move some stuff around for you if you need to. And we've got a merch page as well where we've got T-shirts, mugs, all that kind of good stuff. Leggings actually as well.
Oh, leggings.
So you can visit our merch page. Get us some money so we can
get us some money. Jeez.
We need to do bigger and better things. Forgotten Cinema 2020 is the year of Forgotten Cinema, and we need you guys to help out.
You're putting a lot of pressure. What if it's not the year?
I'm so sorry. Get your loved one something for Valentine's Day. Get them something nice. Get them a nice pair of Forgotten Cinema leggings.
Quality.
I'm here to pimp us out.
That's fine.
And that's all I got.
All right. Well, thanks for listening, everybody. We'll join us next week. We're going to be doing the very long 3-hour. We're going to be doing Meet Joe Black, starring Brad Pitt and Anthony Hopkins, Claire Forlani, Jake Weber, Marcia Gay Harden, and Jeffrey Tambor. I can't believe I remember the entire cast.
Nice. Good.
All right. We'll be doing that next week. Thank you for listening. I'm Mike Field.
I'm Mike Butler.
And this has been Forgotten Cinema.
At some point in your life, you're going to have to stop and ask yourself the ultimate question. This business of being such a fucking prick, what is it really getting me?